are continuing our conversation with menopause. I mean, there's just so much to unpack. And as women approach midlife, the transition into menopause brings not only common symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats, but also deeper health concerns linked to declining hormone levels. Here to help us get a better understanding of how hormonal changes can really impact women is Maddie Gresham. Welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me back.
Of course, thank you for breaking down this topic for us. Like I said, it is a lot to unpack.
Yes.
And the more I talk to women, the more I realize that they don't know everything that's going to come to their that's going to come to them, nor do they necessarily understand what's currently happening. So specifically in regards to hormones, what are some of the risks that come with declining hormones?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because I always want to make sure that women understand that this is a natural transition. It's a natural process our body goes through, but there's a series of adjustments that our body does have to make because of our hormones being deficient and very low. So it affects our heart, it affects our bones, and it affects our mind. We know that menopause is the greatest time of bone loss for women. We have an increased risk of osteoporosis and fracture. Fracture is huge for a woman. You know, a hip fracture, there's a 30% chance of mortality or death within that following year. We know related to our mind, 1 in 5 women are likely to be affected by Alzheimer's disease compared to 1 in 10 men. So we know that there's probably a hormonal component there. Estrogen is involved in memory and verbal recall, and when that declines, we have those symptoms that we've talked about of brain fog and difficulty concentrating, our mood changes, all of that. And the cardiac health is huge too. We see our bad cholesterol increases, our good cholesterol increases. It's not as helpful. We have deeper visceral fat in the midsection that's harder to lose even if we're doing the same things. More fat around the heart, our arteries are changing, so many different things.
I mean, it just sounds like your body is just, at a certain point, it's just going to turn on you.
Aww. It's like, what's happening? It gets a little angry almost.
Oh my goodness. So what are some of the risks? I'm sure there are studies that show these risks.
Yep. So we have a number of different studies that kind of illustrate that our cardiac risk significantly increases around midlife. We have studies that show our bone loss speeds up. We have multiple different studies that show that our memory changes, our verbal recall changes. We have studies of the brain before and after menopause. Before menopause, you know, we have all of the estrogen that's present. After menopause, there's all these estrogen receptors in the brain that are just lighting up because the brain is seeking more estrogen that we just don't have.
Okay, and I know we had a few graphics that you sent in. I kind of want you to explain them because, you know, when I look at them, I'm like, I need
what's
a doctor's help here.
So I love this one because this just shows the risk of cardiac disease, specifically coronary artery disease and stroke. And we can see over on the left in that red bar that up until about midlife or age 50, you know, it seems very low. And then we see that those lines like climb and climb and climb, and that's where we become menopausal. That's around age 50. We see that significant risk of coronary artery disease and stroke because of all the changes to our cholesterol and the vessels and the different changes in our body composition. So I'm a very visual person, and this just kind of helps illustrate how much that risk can increase.
Absolutely. And you were kind of talking about fat and how it's hard for women to lose it in a certain section after a while.
I feel like this is one of the most bothersome symptoms for women is I'm exercising the exact same, I'm eating the exact same, or I'm even being more mindful, I'm being healthier, and I'm not losing weight. This isn't my body. It's not what I want. But we know that, that visceral fat increases regardless of what you're doing, just due to the changes in hormones. So again, I think it's just good to see that we're not imagining things. These things are real.
Yeah, everybody has a fupa, guys. We're all working to get rid of it.
Yes. Challenging for everybody,
fupa,
and especially in menopause.
Oh my goodness. So how do you kind of like, what are the treatment options for the symptoms of menopause?
Yeah. So there's so many. Obviously, there's non-hormonal treatments. Sometimes we use mood medications. There are some one FDA-approved medication for hot flashes and night sweats in particular. It's obviously very important to make sure we're eating right, you know, we're exercising, we're optimizing our sleep, reducing our stress, all those sorts of things. But hormone therapy is going to be the gold standard of treatment for bothersome menopausal symptoms. It's approved for management of hot flashes and night sweats, vaginal dryness, prevention of osteoporosis, and if we're someone who went through early menopause. And then additionally, we can use it to also help with all of these symptoms that we've been talking about.
So how exactly does hormone therapy work? What are some of the fears?
Yeah.
And is it natural?
Yeah, great question. So we hear a lot of fear about the risk of hormone therapy. A lot of that came from a large study that was done over 20 years ago called the WHI, or the Women's Health Initiative. It's important to note in that study they used an older group of women, average age of 65 when starting hormones. We ideally want to start within the first 10 years of menopause. They only used one route of hormone therapy, which was oral. They only used one type, which was synthetic and not bioidentical. And then they misinterpreted their data. Risks are very rare. There are less than 10 events per 10,000 women per year, and they include breast cancer, gallbladder disease, blood clot, and stroke. There are ways that we can significantly reduce those risks. And it's a very natural thing for our body to just replace what we are missing. I like to start with using bioidentical hormones, meaning exactly similar to the structure of estrogen and progesterone made by your ovaries. So we're simply replacing and supporting the body in something that we've become deficient in.
So for what about those who are looking to have kids later in life? How does menopause kind of play into that?
So once we're menopausal, we don't have any farther production of eggs from the ovaries. So if someone has gone through menopause and then they're considering, I strongly, want a child at this point, we would want them to see a specialist, because even replacing hormones is not going to put you back into having a regular cycle or releasing a follicle or an egg again.
And you know what? You are a great specialist for people to come and ask these questions too. So how exactly can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so they can call our office. We're located in the Proctor Professional Building on Knoxville. I'm accepting new patients, and I love to talk about hormones. So I do this all day long if I could.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking about it with us.
Thank you for having me back again.
Absolutely. Now, Central Illinois, your health matters. So join us on June 25th as we continue to explore women's health with the experts at Carl.